Every year on the 4th of July in the United States, we celebrate our Independence Day. Fireworks are shot off around the country, barbecues are held. It's time to be with family and be thankful for our freedom. In 1976, the U.S. celebrated its 200th birthday. Events were held in Washington, D.C. and around the country to celebrate the Bicentennial. Of course, we are a theme park channel here. So did Disney celebrate the Bicentennial in their parks? Yes. Yes, they did. Federal government and Walt Disney Productions announced an $8 million project that would run for 15 months, June 1975 through September 1976. That project being Americaron Parade, a parade telling the story of America and American people. The parade was made to look like huge toys, and the performers were giant dolls. The parade had 50 floats and 150 performers in it. The parade needed music. Developers wanted a band organ sound. They searched for an authentic organ. Luckily, they found a restored 1890 band organ in Missouri. The organ, known as Sadie Mae, was shipped to Nashville where it would be recorded. Sadie Mae's recordings would be played and mixed with a live marching band during the end of the parade. The Sherman Brothers also wrote a song for the Bicentennial celebration. It was called The Glorious Fourth and was in Americaron Parade. The parade floats needed to be built as well. Manufacturers of theatrical sets in cities in the U.S. were asked to make the floats. Each company needed to make pairs of the floats because this parade was going to be in Disneyland and Disney World. Something that was not common back in 1976, but sometimes happened with parades, but back then it was never happened with parades. But it happens with rides, especially now. The costumes were made to look like giant dolls. The costumes needed to be accurate to what people dressed in those times, so researchers and costumers needed to find fabrics that would have been used back then. Americaron Parade opened on June 14th, 1975 in both Disneyland and Magic Kingdom. The parade started with Mickey, Goofy, and Donald. The next floats followed the history of the United States. So Columbus himself was on his ship. The next unit was the first Thanksgiving, with pilgrims with a float that looked like a turkey. The next unit would be a dark one, because it showed the Salem witch trials. After that was one big unit with a bunch of characters like Ben Franklin, patriotic dressed dolls. It also showed historical events like the discovery of gold, voting, school, transportation, sports, and TV. The floats representing the movie industry probably had the funniest parade float in Disney history. One of the floats was just a sandwich. Parade ended with the Statue of Liberty making an appearance. This parade showed in the daytime and at night, meaning this temporarily replaced the Main Street Electric Parade at Disneyland. At the end of the nighttime show, fireworks would be set off. This officially began the Bicentennial celebration at the two Disney parks. Merchandise was quickly made and sold during the celebration. A quick eBay search gave me buttons that had the Bicentennial logo on it. Remember that logo, you're going to see it a lot. Metal plates from Disneyland, souvenir mugs. These kind of mugs were sold in Disney World like all throughout the 70s. I have some of them. I even found a mug from Disneyland. Multiple keychains, a poster, and a frisbee, all having that logo on it. I even found this American flag pin. Nothing special about it. It's just an American flag. Even the ABCDE tickets were marked by the Bicentennial logo. The next attraction opened 2 years before the Bicentennial, but was patriotic and ran through the celebration all the way to 1988. America Sings was an animatronic animal musical revue in the old Carousel of Progress Theater. The theater rotated just like Carousel of Progress. The opening had two animatronics in it, Sam the Eagle and Ollie the Owl. The next scene was the Old South with singing geese, an old dog, singing frogs, and singing crocodiles, singing opossums, and a singing fox. The next scene was the Old West. Most of the same animals were present. The next scene showed the gay 90s, which basically represented the 20s and the 30s. The last scene before the finale would be modern times, meaning 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. The conclusion would be Sam the Eagle and Ollie the Owl. America Sings opened 2 years before the Bicentennial on June 29, 1974. 9 days after opening, a tragedy occurred. A hostess cast member named Deborah Stone was working a night shift when the theater was moving into position to start a new show cycle. She got too close to the moving wall and the non-moving stage and was unfortunately crushed to death between them. America Sings was closed for 2 days after this incident. The solid walls were eventually replaced with breakaway walls to prevent another death or injury. I honestly don't like talking about this kind of stuff on the channel because it involves, real human tragedy. But I feel the best way to end this segment, because I needed to talk about it, is with a brief moment of silence for Deborah Stone. America Sings eventually ran its course after 14 years of operation. The year before closure, a swan was removed from the show and skinned. You can see this animatronic skeleton in the Disneyland Star Tours queue. America Sings eventually closed because a new ride called Splash Mountain needed animatronics. So after Disney closed America Sings, all of, except Sam the Eagle, animatronics were moved to the new Flume ride. The theater was used for offices. 10 years later, Innoventions opened, being the same thing from Epcot. The celebration lasted for 15 months as planned. After the celebration was over, Americaron Parade ended. Of course, this parade had performances at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, so Main Street Electrical Parade returned to both parks and took the nighttime parade slot. This was the first time Main Street Electrical Parade was at Disney World. The doll costumes from the parade were reused when Epcot opened in 1982. They were used at the World Showcase. They were redressed to fit various countries in the showcase and wandered around, took pictures with guests. These things were eventually taken away. According to my research in 1983, I cannot confirm nor can I find proof to deny it, but the floats and costumes, to my knowledge, were destroyed and not archived. The Bicentennial is still remembered fondly today by people who experienced it. Even the people who didn't experience it can enjoy a souvenir from back in the 70s, as Bicentennial merchandise sells well on eBay. That is how Disney celebrated the Bicentennial in 1976. It's pretty cool to think that they actually worked with the government to develop Americaron Parade, and Disney's very patriotic. Like they have the United States and World Showcase, and Walt was very, he seemed like a patriotic guy, because he did so much stuff. He loved the perfect American dream, as they would call it. And yeah, Disney's always been a patriotic company, so it was cool to dig into a story that is not told very often, or if it is told, bits and pieces of it are told, but there's an overarching story with the Bicentennial that I wanted to tell, and I was able to do it. So, if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that like button, and consider subscribing. It would make me a very happy man. And with that, I will see you in the next one. Have a magical day, everybody.